8th, 2014. And Mr. Brooks will record the members present or absent. Actually, everyone is present as President Farrow is joining us via FaceTime from Korea. Right, Tom? All right. So it appears as though we have a quorum, so we'll move on to item number 4, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 5 is approval of the agenda. I believe there's no changes to the agenda. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as motion by Jenny. Second?
A second.
Second. Okay. Second by Ryan. He beat ya. All right. And any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, declare the motion has passed, and we're moving on to item number 6, which is approved consent item, agenda items 7 through 9. The meetings from November 10th are posted. We also approved bills, approval of the bills. Charlie, Sean, Jenny, and myself all reviewed the bills at 5 o'clock. I don't know if there's anything anyone noticed from there. Okay, and then number 9, I believe you were gonna visit on that, Vince?
Item number 9 is the resignation of the school nurse, Laura Nices. And of course, Laura hasn't been with us all that long, but we did receive her resignation effective the 12th of December. We got it shortly after the last board meeting. And the point is that we've had advertisement out, and we are advertising for an RN or an LPN. Legally speaking, we can have either one. So with that, we'll expect that we'll be hiring and filling that position hopefully in the near future.
Is there a closing date on that, or just until? Okay.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 7 through 9.
So moved.
So motion by Charlie,
Second.
seconded by Jenny. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 10 is the hearing of delegations and written communications from school patrons. Dawn, would you like to go back? We have Ms. Weavers here.
Thank you. On behalf of the Madison Education Association, we'd like to thank the school district and the board for providing the Thanksgiving meal to all the staff members. It was received very well by the staff, and they were very appreciative of that during the American Education Week, so that was a great gesture on your part for that, so we wanted to say thank you for that. And we had a great American Education Week. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes. Item number 11, the administrators' reports. Who wants to start?
Well, you have the one online already from the middle school, Patton Cooks. I think you're all able to go through that. And Mitch has posted the bus garage update and the estimated timeline for that, which now appears to be April through August 15th. We do have a construction meeting scheduled as soon as Tom gets back from Korea. I'm not sure what that might develop. So that's those 2 items. And then I think the other administrators basically are going to be involved with the high school data report and the SPED review. But, we've had a lot of activity in enrollment areas since school started, and it's even since the count date on last Friday. For example, just in summary, to let you know how busy we've been, we've had 45 students in and 22 students out. So it's like a revolving door at Grand Central Station. And the interesting thing is, pardon me?
That was since the end of September. You had 45 left.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that they are very well spread out. There's no grade level. Well, second grade, I guess, has had the largest number in with 5. but they can afford that, so to speak. They're not that big a class. And, you know, they're spread between the elementary and middle, and not so much in the middle, or, well, some in the middle, but some in high school too. So, I mean, it's been all across the board. And some of that has been directly related to Global Palmer. And a number of those kids are non-English as their primary language. Some of them are pretty close to bilingual probably, but some of them have survival skills in English, and some have a ways to go. But we're working on exploring ways to enhance their level of learning, so to speak, their degree of proficiency in English. And Janelle, who's the elementary principal, is working with the State Department on some of that. And Craig has got us going with the Career Learning Center, and Craig and Diana helping us with that. Coordinating with the Career Learning Center, we actually bring them into the school to work with kids 4 of the 5 days a week at the middle school, high school, at the high school level, right?
Right.
And so that's quite an experience for us, but it's probable that we'll be bringing a proposal before you in the not too distant future to you know, work on that English language proficiency aspect. And as you may or may not remember, last legislative session, the state moved to 1.25 funding per student allocation for anybody that qualifies for it and have to take a test on it. And majority of these kids would qualify. So we would get some extra funding to help pay for that position. So we're not ready, we're not there yet, but it's probable. Other than that, you know, winter activities are started. Really changes the course of the event, so to speak. A lot of activities right now. And one of the bigger ones would be on Friday night would be the high school concert for both band and vocal here in the high school auditorium. And we did host the elementary, you know, just before Thanksgiving with their programs and in the auditorium. And some of them were during the school day, and did cause some parking issues, at least for one person that parked a little cockeyed. But other than that, fortunately, didn't get towed away, but other than that, the rest of the world seemed to be able to park in normal procedures. But the quality of the program was excellent, and I think those in the audience appreciated the opportunity to watch and hear the programs in that setting. So I would say that was a hit. That'd be about it for me. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.
I'm gonna jump in and do a report quick too
Okay,
before we
go
get
ahead.
going. Because mine will kind of piggyback into Diana's. One of the components was I was supposed to bring you a quarterly report of the CTE stuff, so we're at that point. We're in the process of getting ready to get things going second semester. With Gail, we're gonna do a little bit of tweaking of the schedule and actually increase our enrollment numbers. So right now we currently have 9 kids enrolled in welding. Second semester we'll have open spots for about 16 kids. So, but we have had interest from schools around us now too. I think it's finally to the point where it's gonna take off and gather some other interest out of other schools. The students that took welding first semester are now eligible to move into the factory setting and continue on and continue to finish getting their credits. At that point, when they're done, Gail has the flexibility to then hire those kids on temp and put them right to work. So that's our whole goal, and that's really the premise of the grant when we wrote this originally, was to help the local industry, and it is working. That's exactly what we're hoping happens.
Jumping. I'm
Yep.
assuming they have to be 18.
No, they don't. No. And that's why they'll put them on temp hire, because then they're covered by their liability insurance. So, yeah, so they'll start with, you know, your basic motor mount weldings and door hinges, and then kind of expand out from there. So it's kind of a neat deal. Where, like our CNA program, we have 8 students have completed their online CNA component. Students are gonna get their 2 dual credits for that. And then we've had
And those kids will do their skills testing here next week.
Yep.
And so that's lined up with Tracy Opdahl over at Golden Living. She's done the skills training of that. They'll do their certification test this week and next week.
And that's $159, they pay for it, and then when they get hired by districts, they, or when the facility hires those kids, they reimburse them the $159. So they become their employee, essentially. So we have 8 kids that'll finish up first semester, and now we have another 8 enrolled second semester that'll jump in and take over. The biomedical piece, that's been kind of a nice component, that's up and going. That's through the Project Lead the Way. Our classroom that we wanted to remodel is we're about getting that wrapped up, so maybe, hopefully in January at the board meeting, maybe we can run down there and take a look at the classroom when we get it done. It's been kind of a process trying to get people to come in and add cabinets and plumbers and things like that. They're busy people, so it's hard to get them in here. We also are in the process of expanding our health occupations class with the hospital. We purchased new textbooks for them and also ordered a medical terminology curriculum for them. So that was part of the grant when we wrote that, was to further expand our health occupations program. So that is getting taken care of. We're still in the process of getting things lined up for the automotive. That should be set to go here starting in the spring semester. We're going to start with a small group of numbers, just like we did with Gale, and get that up off the ground and then see how it works. A little different environment than a welding environment, so that'll be a little bit more of a challenge probably, but we'll get through it. I think, as Craig and you, did they take Joe Neville and stick him up on a board up at LATI too?
Yeah.
Poor Joe, we have a meeting with LATI and STI, and all of a sudden now he's on their advisory board up at LATI, so it works out pretty good. But the second semester, the Wiltz family, who has the machining OEM gum part out on where Jersey's used to be on the edge of town, we're expanding, and they're actually adding more dual credit in. So they ran a student through first semester. Now they're going to actually add some more second semester and then start taking kids in now that they're up and functioning. That expansion is not directly tied to grant funding. That is actually exterior. And I think that's the piece you need to know, is it is expanding outside of the actual grant. We do have a lot of people that are interested in it. Barger Electric has been interested, James Rivers is interested, because they're in such a high need for diesel mechanics right now that they can't find kids. And we have kids that will fit that need. So we're going to start building partnerships with them and try to get those kids some dual credit maybe down the road. The last piece, we were going to try and administer the NCRC, that National Career Readiness. The date we wanted, Aberdeen took from us, so we're going to try and test our seniors sometime in February, and that gives them a certificate that they can take to employers and say, I've taken this National Career Readiness certificate, and it gives them some, step above people that just walk in from the outside. So that's kind of where we're at. It's been kind of a crazy ride, but there are a lot of good things going on in the community and tons and tons of support out of our local business partners. So we thank them at the same time as we thank our kids, and Diane and Craig have really, really been instrumental in this too, and I think they need to be thanked also. So that's what I got for that. One other thing, I did run a report on conferences. We ran at about 57% of our parents, which is better than usual. Usually we run sub 50%, so that was good. I'll be interested to see what second semester brings. That usually isn't the higher one, so. But that's what I got.
Always great fun to come. This year I invited Craig to come and join me with all of this. And basically I get to tell you the glory story after all the hard work of all the staff members from K-12. This is not something that Craig and I do to get these kids to this level. This is what happens after all of us get them to this level. And so I kind of want to run through a report that I get from the Board of Regents telling us where the kids have went since they started enrollment with us. And so in the class of 2013, we had 29 students that...
Jenny, would you turn me to see what
Hi, Tom.
Say when, Tom.
So in 2013, we had 29 students that ended up going to a Board of Regents school. And I wanted Craig to talk about that group of students. So we're gonna bounce over to where those kids, who those kids actually were, so.
Well, you can see we have quite a diverse placement, you know, and it's typical in terms of where our kids go, and sometimes it's not, but we always have a high number at Dakota State and South Dakota State. Often SDSU gets most of those students, but it's them in Dakota State, and then UST follows that. And then from there, it can be quite a mishmash of schools, but Black Hill State, you'll notice that we didn't have anybody go to Northern this year. But then you'll see we have a few private schools, and then again, you'll see our tech schools, which is not part of that 29, but.
The statistical thing that came up after we had, this is information that we talked to the kids about in May, of where you're intending on going. And what you'll see on the next report that I show you is, even though on this sheet we've got 13 kids going to Dakota State, only 7 of them followed through and went. So our concern is that those kids are saying, I'm staying in state, or I'm staying in town and I'm going to school, didn't out of this class specifically follow through and actually go. So we've got 6 kids that were out there, either they switched and went right to work because of the great jobs that were here, or they went to some other school than what they had told us. But
And this is our out-of-state placement. And again, the out-of-state placement, a lot of these kids, this is a kind of an in-depth process. A lot of these students have applied at multiple schools, and often it depends on the major they're looking at, and it may be athletics, it could be music. Again, when you see students applying to schools like St. Catherine or St. Olaf, they're usually looking at multiple schools. One of the students here looked at 7 schools and applied at 7 schools. It's a very in-depth process. And again, when we look at this group of kids primarily, the ones that aren't looking at athletic especially, they probably are amongst our highest students in terms of academics. Because to go out of state, to go to some of these private schools, you have to have excellent academics, excellent ACT in order to really qualify for the financial assistance that you need to attend some of these schools.
okay, so back to the Board of Regents report. If you look along this far side, and I apologize, you should have all received this in an email, the link to this, so if it's easier to look off your computers, you can sure log in. But according to this, we had 1 that went out to Black Hill State, we had 7 that stayed here at Dakota State, we didn't have any go to Northern, we had 1 go to School of Mines, we had 13 that actually went to SDSU, and 7 that went to USD off of that report that we gave you. 100% of them met the admissions requirements. So when it comes to any of these schools saying, here's what you have to get into their schools, the kids they received all of those ACT-wise, class rank, and grade point average, which is outstanding. The South Dakota Opportunity Scholarship is for those students that have a set list of courses, but they also have a 24 ACT. And we had 31% of these 29 students ended up going to a Board of Regents school. The Regent Scholar does not have the ACT component to it, but has that list of courses, the 4 math, the 4 science, the 3 social studies, the 4 English, and so on. With over half of these kids, or 15 of them, had the Regent Scholar requirement to it, and we had 10% that took AP classes. Now this item here is self-reported. We definitely have more kids that take the AP classes, but they were somewhat in that pot of students that went out of state. So, as far as the benchmark goes, and please stop me at any point if you've got questions. I'll talk about benchmarks more in my other slide presentation, but if we just look at the marks coming across here, it tells me that our kids are meeting those benchmarks. Of these 29 students, they were right at the benchmarks that are expected for them to get into school and to be successful once they're there. Along with, well, this is the mean scores, these are the benchmarks, my apology there. So our kids are a tad bit below in the English category as far as benchmarks, but let me pull that up and show you in a different format so it's easier to explain. While I'm still on this report, I'd like to take you into the first year outcomes. So when we look at this, of the 29 students that went to the South Dakota schools, 65% of them did not need remedial courses. A remedial course happens when the student receives less than an 18 in their English class and less than a 20 in their math classes. So if I have a student that comes in, they may get a 24, but if they get a 17 in English, they have to take remedial. Or if they get a 19 in math, then they have to take the remedial math course. So out of these 29, we had 20% of those kids, or 6 of them, ended up doing remedial English, and 24 of them needed remedial math. And 10%, or 3 of them, ended up doing both of those combined classes. But the exciting thing about them even needing the remedial classes is 89% of them were successful. 89%, or what did I figure, 26 of them were able to get through the remedial programs and accomplish a grade point average that was satisfying to the Regental system that they could stay. And so this chart just comes back in of the courses that were completed by these 29 students. Even if they had to do remedial English and math, they were right at that 2.0 grade point average. If they did the math or the English, they were right there again at that 2-point grade point average. But our kids that were not in remedial exceeded the grade point average, were well up into that 3.0 grade point average for the remaining number of students that were able to, that went through the program. And then for this one, this is a longer term report. So this takes us back to 2010. We had 40 students that went to Regental schools, which totaled, 40 students went with an average of a 2.8 grade point average, and they completed 23.9. This is their freshman year, first year being at school. We think that's a pretty outstanding result. We had 47 that went in 2011, a 2.99 grade point average, and they were able to complete 23 credits. In 2012, we had 35 students, a 2.97 grade point average, and then this group of 29, all of them combined had a 2.77 grade point average. Anytime you get that large a population with grade points, we know that one lower grade can move them into that 2-point or 3-point fairly quickly. So if we look at this one right here, these are the percentage of, so you got to think about the numbers over here and then the numbers retained. So these are the kids that are staying after that first year. And Craig, what's the average of students not making to their second year?
Well, there's several different reports. ACT, often the reports show that 50% of incoming freshmen nationwide don't return for the sophomore year to four-year colleges, 50%. Seen a lot of different reports from a lot of different places. It's rather surprising when you look at four-year colleges, graduation rate for, if they track kids over 4 years, it's often 25% or less, even in South Dakota. Not saying schools, I know of one university that did a 6-year study. They found 16.5 graduated after 4 years. After 6 years, it was right about 18%. And a lot of it just has to do with, as life happens, people getting married, and a lot of kids, and we see this frequently, transfer to different schools, and after a while it's hard to follow these kids, because we've tried how many times to follow students, it's really hard to do. We see a lot of people. In fact, last week I helped 2 students who started at four-year colleges set up interviews to go to, one was from the class of 2011, one was from 12. They're looking at 2-year schools at this point in time. So I think that's one thing we do try to accomplish, is to make sure that, hey, if plan A doesn't work, you've got B and you've got C and maybe D, but you've got to keep working towards that. Just don't fall into something. And so we still see those kids coming back. And so when you look at statistics like this, you have to keep all those things in mind. There's a lot of different variables that take place.
But I think it's really exciting for us to be running 11% was our highest. That was 5 kids that didn't make it to their sophomore year. I think that's a great touting thing for us, that our kids are sticking with it and getting done. One other thing on here that I wanted you to take a look at. This was that group of students that ended up in the remedial program. Even those kids are getting through and being successful. And I think that comes back to that work ethic and knowing the basic skills that we have taught them here and being able to take that forward and stick with it, even though they may need to get into these remedial programs and get the extra support on campus. They're going and doing it and they're getting through it. So any questions on that report? You guys all have the URL for this. You can go in, you can compare to other schools. If you just go up here to the top, you can actually do the drop down and change to any other school and take a look at how their schools are doing related to this area. Okay. Tom, don't you have any DSU questions or something for me?
No, very good. And interesting to see where those 6 disappeared that didn't attend.
Exactly, I'm anxious for that too.
I think a couple of them are back
Get rid of my
at
pen.
Dakota State this fall. Pretty sure they are.
Okay, so we talked about those. So this fits into the class of 2014. So this would be our graduates from last year and where they were going according to what they gave me for data in the spring. So 17 at DSU, 20 at SDSU, 10 at USD, 1 out to Black Hills State, 1 School of Mines, and 2 at Augie. And then we're seeing that increase in numbers, looking at that technical school is definitely an option for those students. Do you want to talk about our out-of-state?
Yeah, this is I think I can speak for Diana and probably the teacher of the school. Last year's graduating class, maybe the most talented, the upper 40%, probably the talented kids I've ever seen. So a lot of our really high-end students did leave the state last year. They got great scholarship opportunities for, again, the reasons I spoke of earlier. Might be music or engineering or whatever, but very diverse. All the way from Bridgewater College, which is a 2-year school, to the American Art Institute in New York City in Manhattan. We have a girl right now who's studying, she's right next to Broadway. That was an interesting process. To Wisconsin Stout for baseball, Oklahoma Wesleyan for education, Concordia for music, Morningside. A lot of it had to do with football, but that's what's going on there.
Basketball.
Basketball. Then the U of M. So we get a wide range of kids trying out a lot of different things. This is an extended process working with a lot of these out-of-state schools.
Again, just breaking it down percentage-wise, we still have a very high percentage of those 83, 78% of them went to 4-year schools, 17% to the technical schools, 5 went into the employment, and then the 3% that are military or National Guard individuals, all 3 of them have been to basic training and back, and all 3 of them are planning on entering the technical school come either here in January or will start in the fall, and so those 3 will actually add to the technical school numbers. Just a pie graph of how that breaks down. So let's talk ACT. This is our 5-year report for those students. So we actually had 71 of those 83 took the ACT, and as you can see, if we do the comparison of district-wise, we saw a little bit of jump in our English area, a stable number with our math. We saw a bigger jump with our reading section, and again, stability coming, or a little bit of a decrease actually with the science, and our overall composite score seeing a little bit of an increase over the last 5 years. And again, exceptional group of students, but again, a high percentage of our kids taking that test, which always makes us feel good. It's not just the very top that take it. We have a very large percentage of the actual overall class that will take that score. We talked a little bit earlier about the benchmarks, and this is, again, based off of a study that ACT company does on the success rate of students when they enter the college arena. And so they're saying that these benchmarks are the minimum scores needed for that student to get a 50% chance of getting a B or higher in the class, or a 75% of getting a C or higher. So it's their prediction that that child's going to be successful if they enter school. So for a student needs to have an 18 score in English. Well, for our kids, of that 71, we had 56 of them that received that 18 score or higher, but I had 7 of them that were within 2 points of that 18. So really we've got 63 of the 71 that were within that benchmark. We had, for the math, you need a 22 math score. remember to get in, out of the remedials, you only needed a 20, but for get a 22, we had 34 students. 15 of them were a 20 or higher. On the reading, we had a 20, they have to have a 22 score. We had 55% of them, or 39 of that 71, and we had another 13 that were very close to that, or about 50 of those kids. Science, you need a 23 for your sub-score in that area. That was a total of 34 kids. And again, another 16 that were very close to getting that benchmark, or that sub-score of 23. And kind of the bar graph just to show that same data that our kids are at the state level, if not higher in all the categories but math. ACT, I always enjoyed breaking this down. We had 34 males take the test. Their scores are listed there, and those making the benchmarks are also listed, and then the females, how they're ranking in the same ACT scores.
Again, we got a high percentage of kids taking the ACT there, 71 out of 83.
And again, if there's any questions, please ask. This is probably the slide that we're most proud of. Out of our 83 students, 54 of them received scholarships. We have to congratulate our community because they just continue to step up. We've got 3 new scholarships again this year that are fully endowed that we'll be able to give out many scholarships. But there seems to be a need for money, and our community just rolls forward and helps us out. So 54 of the 83 students received scholarships. 19 of them received opportunity and guaranteed scholarships at the Board of Regents. Keep in mind, a large percentage of these kids went out of state that could have received money from in-state, but they also left. So we had 8 of them that could have also received the opportunity. That's a $9,000 award to those students that qualify for that scholarship. And then this class of a total of 83 went over $1 million in accepted monies. Now that doesn't happen without all of us working together and getting them truly prepared for it. It takes Craig and I both, everything we can put into them to teach them how to do essays and fill out applications and just turn out a piece that gets them money. And then we've got all the extra activities that builds their resume to the point that they just compete very well when it comes to scholarship dollars, and we're very proud of that.
And all those scholarship dollars aren't just based on academics or athletics. There's other things involved too that we, I guess, over the years have realized that you're in this situation, here's a scholarship program for you. So it's just not academics. There's a lot of things. So when you see that high number of kids, there's a lot of reasons why those kids are getting those scholarships.
And to switch to this year's class already, we have 90 students in this senior class. We already have 17 that have accomplished that 24 or higher ACT. And so we're seeing them stepping up and doing a lot of things right, including the dual and concurrent credit. Dual credit is when they take the coursework through the college. Concurrent credit is when we teach the class here with our professors or with our teachers that are qualified to teach in that area. So for us, then advanced biology was a concurrent credit because that's Mrs. Unnebrunner's advanced biology class. So she had 31 students sign up for a 3-credit class with Dakota State. Bob Kortz has the qualifications to teach a History 151 class through Dakota State, and we've got 27 students in that class. And the rest of the classes are all taught in a dual credit situation. So the college algebra, we had 12 students in the fall that Al Biersbach was in there to support them through. We have 3 other students in additional dual credit courses, and then the rest of them are, the welding is what we do through Lake Area, the certified nursing through Lake Area. We've got 1 student that's taking 2 Mitchell Technical School courses, or 6 credits through them, and then we have a student that's taking 9 credits through Lake Area for the machine tool course. So in total, we've got 91 courses, and we have a 100% success rate. Now, I don't know that any college can say we've got this many kids in this many courses and having a 100% success rate. And that is $40 a credit hour savings, $120 for a 3-credit course, and you take that times 91, that's a chunk of change that our kids are successfully completing and saving their parents and so on. So here's what it looks like for the spring. We now have 24 kids that have qualified to take the college algebra class, and Mr. Biersbach will be in there to support them. We have 19 students that have qualified for the speech class, and Mrs. Gagno and Mr. Erickson are going to help out in that area. Welding, we'll have 8 students there that are Lake area. We have 3 students right now, or 4 students that are doing the certified nursing program. Both of those areas are complete, total placement. Those kids finished their skills test, and 4 of them were immediately hired at that point, and as soon as we get them certified, I'm guessing that all of them will be employed. The machine tool, will continue there with that 1 student for sure. The auto tech, we're looking at 1 student there with the help of Prostrellos. We have 1 student taking chemistry, 3 in the computer science right now, and we're hoping to increase that number. That's going to keep Rob employed. So we want to keep adding up kids there. Composition, we've got 2 students, and then we've got the medical Mitchell Tech student is going to add 2 courses there too. So again, we've got about 60 students that are taking almost 70 college classes within our building. So, and that finishes our, so what questions do you have for us?
I think this is a true testament to our faculty, not only in the high school, but from the bottom to the top. And we have a lot to be proud of in our community. I think that's what's most important. I think it's fun to come up here and show you all this, but there's a lot of hard work that goes in, and, you know, Craig and Diana and I, you know, we get to see it all, but it actually happens in the classrooms. And I think those people are the ones that make it happen, so.
Oh, you got good kids.
We got great kids, great parents, great support in our community. I think that's what's most important, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No, we took up way too much time anyway. You guys are open, yeah, you're at quarter
I'll
after
be
six.
sure.
Okay. Thanks, you guys.
Yep.
Moving on to item number 13. Paula?
Yes. We had our state sped review at the end of October. They come, there were 5 of them came, and they go through 2 files from each case manager, each teacher, and go through them from the beginning, from the referral, through the evaluation, through the writing of the IEP, to signatures. And so they go through from beginning to end, each of the files that they chose, and they pick a variety of disabilities, age groups, etc. We made it through. We do have some corrections to make, so we will be working on those over the next year. Everything has to be done within a year. There were just 3 teachers out of the 11 teachers that had some errors that were made. And to me, they were just picky errors, of course. And so we're working on getting those corrected. And it'll be done. I also completed our December 1st child count today, and we are up 13 students on IEPs from last December 1st. And so that increases funding. And I haven't broken them down yet.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yep, I'll do that for next one time. So, yeah, I'll break them down to see where we're at. So, autism, I know that was one that really went up. That
Oh, okay.
was, we do have that many. We have about 9 in our district. Any questions for me?
I'd like to add that I visited with the lady that was in charge of the team that came in October, and she told me on a one-on-one basis that our department does an excellent job as usual, and that's what she expected when she came, and that's what she got. And Paula talked about the work that needs to be done. You know, there's always work. It's like an audit, of any kind, and they're going to find something that's their purpose, and that actually helps us, makes us stronger, makes us better. But don't get any idea that there's any negativity with this at all, because there isn't. It's all positive. And our people do a terrific job. And I think as a board, as a school, as a community, we're very proud of your services. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I did ask her, I said, don't you write down all the positives you found? She said,
Take too long.
Thank you, Paula. Item number 14, I believe Adam, you're going to be presenting on.
Yeah, I sure can, yep. One of the big issues we have is we get a lot of push from the outside about foreign exchange students and all these companies that are wanting to place kids. And in fact, what kind of sparked this is I had a company that was out trying to find families to place students and never contacted us. So we needed to go back, look at our policy, and this is not a common thing going on here, it's going on all over the place. So we're all kind of working together to try and find some common ground for a policy. So we looked at our policy, and then Mr. Schaefer and I discussed it, and we went back and forth, and then I drafted or amended what we had. But my goal, or essentially our goal, is to try to limit the number of kids we take in, because they're time intensive, it's a lot of work. And especially now with our secondary issue of our ESL population increasing. But that's the time we put into them. But we also want to make sure that we have them here at the start of the year, and they get a full year experience if they're going to come. I think that's pretty important. And also we get money for the kids when they're here for the full year. If we take them in semester, we don't get anything for them. They just come here, they're here a semester and they're back. So I think that's kind of how we frame this. One of the pieces is that we do want to keep is that we do want the participating company to be a part or a participant with the Secondary School Principals Association. I think that's pretty vital in this. We want to make sure they have all their proper documentation, but I want to get that information. We're getting it later than we should. That's one of the reasons we put it in there too. We want to have everything before August 1st so that we can take the time and get the kids aligned where they need to be. It takes time to audit transcripts. A lot of times we have to get a hold of their host school or their home school to try and figure out what they've had and not had so that we can get them in line. And I think the biggest piece is just if we can limit the number and then have them follow the guidelines, I think is the biggest piece. And I think 4 is pretty acceptable. I mean, we have 4 now, and we have 4 good kids right now. They're very, very good. I don't know if you read the article that was in the paper about them, but you can every once in a while pick up a doozy, and they can be a lot of work too. So I think that was the whole goal, is just to amend it and try to get it honed in.
Has 4 always been in there, Adam?
No, we used to be at the board's discretion, so you could have 15 if you wanted 15. But I think the biggest piece is if we put a number on it, then it makes it a little easier for me as we take these people in and try to get them where they need to go. Because I bet by the time you factor in time, I bet we put 5 or 6 hours into per kid by the time you take them in, meet with them, set schedules, audit transcripts. So it is very time intensive. And then when they're coming in, it's right when we're trying to get school going too. So that's why we're trying to get some parameters on times, get paperwork.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I make one suggestion,
Sure.
just so that we're concise throughout? So it's
Yep.
Madison Central School District?
Yep.
I know you have Madison School District
Yep.
twice, and
Okay.
then Madison Central too.
Okay. That we can do.
So it hadn't been audited since 1999?
Oh, that was reviewed 2012. Yeah.
So is there a motion to approve the changes to policy JECBAA, admission of exchange and foreign students?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tom, seconded by Jenny. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 15. I believe Mr. Schaefer is going to speak on this.
Okay, this is, item 15 is about establishing or having the board appoint a committee to represent the district in the case of the Baldridge and Nelson mediation process. And this is something that's been moving forward for some months now. And so it'd be our recommendation to appoint those of us who have been working on this and have been on the construction committee since the school renovation project started. So I'm going to request that you appoint Tom Farrell, Mitchell Brooks, Mike Bates, and myself to represent the district in this process. And as you you need to recognize the fact that the issues that we've had with this are directly related to the recent school renovation project. We did try to resolve them without going to this step, but those issues all are just moving forward into the mediation process. And because these issues could put us into a litigation process if mediation doesn't work successfully,